It is time to expose Toyota. Toyota is actually funding transitions not just for their employees, but also for the children of employees. We talked about how to bring LGBTQ plus lesson plans in for elementary school. It is insane.
They may deal with people who decide based on their participation here that they don't want to do business with them, and the business owners I've talked to and presented that to them as a possibility say, well, maybe those aren't people we want to do business with.
The Trevor Project hosts forums for adults to talk to teens about secretly transitioning. You are not going to believe what is under the hood of this story, so strap in.
Blame it on the gays. I should have warmed up. Okay, I admit it. I should have warmed up. You know, I'm classically trained. I've been singing my entire life now. Let's be honest. We all hear my speaking voice. I'm clearly not a songstress. But anyway, the gays are losing ground. Toyota is the latest one to drop out of the DEI program. They no longer want to be held accountable by the HRC. And this is something that's going to continue to happen until the gays learn their lesson. So I'm gonna read the full story for you. I'm gonna break it down. Believe me, I've got a lot to say on this subject because every couple of decades, the gays have to prove that we are not to be trusted with power. Whether that's the gay community itself, like it was in San Francisco several years back, or it's the LGBT community in general and what's going on at Pride. But either way, we're gonna get into it. What's up, everybody? Ty Rivera here, the absolute best LGBTQ comedian in the world. Let me calm down a little bit. I've had a lot of sugar. It's my cheat day. Anyway, I've got some stuff that I still want to say on what I was talking about the other day. So if you guys are here from that, come back on the next video if you want to hear me talk about some other stuff regarding what I was talking about with the TERFs and all that stuff. I'm not going to beat a dead horse, but I will tell you guys a little bit more about it because there are some follow-up questions people had for me. And I realize that there's a couple of things that I just want to clarify. But for today, I want to talk about this because, like I said, the LGBTQ community will always prove that we don't deserve to be trusted with power. And they're trying to blame this anti-DEI conservative activist Robbie Starbuck because Toyota is the latest to drop out. But it really is our own fault. It really is the fact that we don't know how to leave well enough alone, and we constantly, as a community, and I'm not a part of it in that way, but we do constantly lie to people. We lie to them about what it is we want. We're like, we just want to be like everybody else. We just want to be part of what everybody else is doing. And then we get in there and we decide that we're going to completely change everything and completely everything, and everybody's like, no, that's not why you're here. It's like that friend that you invite over to your party, and then at some point they try to get on your counter and start stripping, and everybody's like, that's not the vibe right now. We're having a kickback. It's not a bachelor party. Nobody needs you to get naked right now. And the gay community is like, well, I'm gonna get naked anyway. I'm drunk. And it's like, what are you doing, girl? And yeah, the drag and the trans and all that, that's a part of it, because what's going on is these people are pulling out not only of like their DEI programs, but they're also ceasing to sponsor Pride and LGBT events. And what I was saying about like this happened years ago, back in like the 80s, there was a situation in San Francisco where the gays were really getting their first stronghold in that city, because obviously San Francisco is a very gay city. That's what it's known for now. Rice-A-Roni isn't the San Francisco treat, I'll tell you that. But yeah, so there was a point where the gays kind of got to take over and they just completely abused their power. They were hooking up in the park.
We do get complaints from the neighborhood about what goes on in the park, and the officers are sent in there to get people out of the park.
But the gays just were like, yeah, we're going to be as free as we want. So they were literally hooking up in the parks.
The situation at Collingwood Park is typical of what gays complain about. The park near Castro Street is used as a baseball field during the day, but supposedly also as a place where gays have sex after the park closes at night. Police have made several dozen arrests.
And the gays were like, well, this is going to be all us. So they held Dianne Feinstein over a barrel, and then they were able to flex on her. And then AIDS came along, and some people would say that that was the great equalizer. And while I don't think that AIDS was at all the gay community's punishment in that way, I still do think that God will find it. Won't he do it? That's all I'm going to say is, won't he do it? I know some people are going to get mad at me, but you know, if we're not going to have fun on this channel, why are we here, you guys? I already told you guys. You want the news? You can go to CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, the Young Turks. I don't even know if the Young Turks really do news. I don't know what anybody does on this platform, but I know what I do. So let's read the story. And of course, I'm going to interrupt like crazy on this one. This is going to be one where we really talk about it. Before we go any further, as always, I'm just going to ask that you like, comment, and subscribe. If you want to leave a comment just to help me on the algorithm, but you don't know what to comment, just leave a knife, because woke culture is going to try to come for my neck. But I dare you, take your best shot. Anyway, let's get into this story. Okay, so headline, Toyota is the latest company to scale back its DEI policies. The automaker is the most recent target of an anti-trans DEI push, spearheaded by conservative activist Robbie Starbuck. Robbie Starbuck would not be able to get in there. I don't even know who Robbie Starbuck is, but Robbie Starbuck would not be able to get in there and throw a stick in the spokes if we didn't keep shooting ourselves in the foot. So let's stop trying to shift blame and act like it's somebody else's fault that we don't know how to act like adults. Gay people, pay attention, because this is why we can't have nice things. Okay, so since June, a mounting number of companies have pulled back on their corporate commitments to diversity, equity, and inclusion. Everybody hated DEI anyway. Let's just be honest about that. Well, I guess protected classes didn't hate it, but everybody else was like, this is unnecessary. Tractor Supply and John Deere were some of the first companies to do so, reversing some of their DEI policies and pulling sponsorship of pride events and other social or cultural awareness events. And I originally saw that Tractor Supply and John Deere were pulling support from Pride because they hadn't chosen to do anything during June. And Samantha Lux, who at some point I'm going to call out, called them out for this. And I was like, that makes total sense. Because, you know, Samantha Lux was acting like, oh, I wonder why they're not giving money. And it's like, why would they? Tractor Supply and John Deere, the LGBT community, the gay community, is not their target demo. So them choosing to give money was basically because they were being, in a way, strong-armed by the LGBT community with woke culture. And if you don't give us money, if you don't support us, we're going to go ahead and boycott you and let everybody know that you're homophobic, transphobic, and every other phobic that you're not supposed to be back in years past. But now, because of the Dylan Mulvaney effect, a lot of companies and corporations have been given their get out of jail free card and know that there is no consequence, because it's like, you're not our target demo, and our target demo does not care enough to stop using us because you guys tell them. So tell whoever you want. People are still going to come to Tractor Supply. People are still going to come to John Deere. In the months since, several others have followed suit, including Harley Davidson, Lowe's. Both make sense, again, not to be stereotypical, but both of those would be more towards the lesbian market if the LGBT community were to be at all affected by this. But the lesbians are tired of all the woke shit too. And I don't say that in a bad way at all. The lesbians kept all of us in check, and we kind of did need that as a community, just like any good house needs a mom. And I'm not trying to talk shit. If you grew up without a mom and you have a really great dad or really great dads, I'm not talking shit, but I'm just saying a lot of times dads will let you do whatever you want. The gay community, we're the dads. And then the moms are like, don't eat that. Don't go swimming until 30 minutes after you've eaten. Or like, you know, moms play a very important role. And that's a lot of what the lesbians were. And when I was younger, I used to get annoyed with the lesbians and be like, ugh, why do they always have to be like that? And then the older I got, I was like, yeah, they do keep us in check in a lot of ways. And they handle the business end of being gay in a lot of cases. Like a lot of times the lesbians handle the administrative, where we as the gays are more customer service. But what's happened with the lesbians is lesbians, for the most part, don't even feel connected to the community anymore, because lesbians have now been told that if they're not willing to hook up with trans women, lesbians with penises, that they're not able to be lesbians anymore. And then the lesbians are like, okay, this isn't the point of this exercise. I didn't come out as a lesbian and risk losing all my friends and family to be forced to still sleep with men. And trans people, if you think me saying that sleeping with men is disrespectful to trans people, feel however you want to feel about it. I'm being honest right now. I'm trying to talk about the nuts and bolts Can I please be a grown-up? But I am trying to talk about the nuts and bolts of this situation. And that's what happened. And I don't mean that as a slight to actual transsexual people, but when it comes to transgender, let's not play with each other, fellow LGBT. The truth of the matter is, transgender has decided to co-opt the entire gay community and hold us all hostage. And now the lesbians are like, okay, well, I can just do my own thing. I don't need to be a part of this if I'm going to be forced to either hook up with dudes or be called a transphobe. So the lesbians will buy a Harley, go to Lowe's, get some shit to do some gardening on the weekend, call it a day and not even care. The lesbians can skip Pride altogether. Technically, it was lesbians that first brought kids to Pride, though, but it was a very wholesome way. We'll talk about it another day. I've talked about it before. Some of you are going to feel however you feel. Not today, Louise. Okay, so let me continue. In the months since, several others have followed suit, including Harley-Davidson, Lowe's, and Ford, and revoked their participation in the Human Rights Campaign's Corporate Equality Index, which evaluates companies on how inclusive they are of LGBTQ plus employees. And good thing for it, because the HRC really has been holding people up like they're the Teamsters, and the HRC is no longer representative of what the everyday gay or lesbian or transsexual is looking for. HRC really is catering to the transgender community, and I just said what the actual groups are. It's the gays, it's the lesbians, and the transsexuals. Everything past that is bullshit, and I don't care what anybody tells you, that is 100% true. The T, when it stands for transgender and not transsexual, is bullshit. The Q, the I, all that is bullshit. So when you've got the HRC who is catering to those people, it does become the minority of the minority running the majority. And at a point, the majority is going to realize we don't need you all together. So you're not going to hold us up, because I saw a video where they described the way the corporate index works.
This group has a scoring system called the CEI system. The Corporate Equality Index is one that scores corporations on basically how woke they are.
The Human Rights Campaign Foundation has been working for over 25 years in partnerships with companies across this country to make sure that they have best-in-class benefits for LGBTQ plus workers, to ensure that they're reducing the instances of harassment and discrimination in the workplace, to make sure that they are showing up for a community that has $1.4 trillion of buying power and represents 30% of Generation Z. Because by doing that, they are doing work not only to support the future of the workforce and the consumer base, but also to support their bottom line. So what we're seeing from these companies is short-sighted, and it's a wrong decision for businesses. That's why today we are announcing a 25-point deduction to the Corporate Equality Index scores for those companies that have rolled back their commitments to our communities. It's important that we have accountability here, and that employees and consumers alike, and shareholders too, get to see the impact of these decisions on these companies.
And it really is a thing where HRC does hold up a lot of corporations and companies by giving them a low score and making it seem like they're hateful, and that would hurt them for a long time. And everybody's just gotten now like, okay, well, if you're going to hurt us, then hurt us. It's like when you're young and you're dating somebody that's maybe a little bit cuckoo, and they're like threatening you all the time. Like maybe they have dirty pictures of you or something like that. And they're like, if you break up with me, I'm going to send all of your family all of these pictures. And then one day you just get tired of them and you're like, send them to everybody. Start with my mom and dad. They haven't seen me naked since I was a baby. It'll refresh them a little bit. Do whatever you're going to do. Let the consequence be the consequence. I'm calling your bluff. And so I think a lot of these corporations are just calling HRC's bluff and being like, give us a low score. Whatever you decide to do, you do. But we're done. You guys are running our businesses into the ground. Look what happened with Dylan Mulvaney. Bud Light went out of their way to be accommodating to the LGBTQ community. They lost billions. Now Toyota is joining their ranks as the latest target of an anti-DEI push spearheaded by conservative activist Robbie Starbuck. The automaker will no longer sponsor LGBTQ plus events and plans to narrow our community activities to align with STEM education and workforce readiness, according to Bloomberg Report. Like other companies, Toyota will also no longer participate in the Corporate Equality Index. In a letter announcing these changes to employees and dealers, Toyota referenced a highly politicized discussion of corporate DEI efforts, Bloomberg reported. As with other companies, this about-face seems to have been catalyzed by Starbucks' online campaign against Toyota. The activists drew attention to Toyota's DEI policies and support for LGBTQ plus employees in a social media post last week, encouraging customers to share their concerns concerns with the company. Toyota had previously said that Starbucks' post only prompted a handful of queries from employees, dealers, and customers, calling the effect negligible. So Toyota's saying that didn't really matter. That wasn't what did it. And I'll look into that post maybe. It's on X, the artist formerly known as Twitter. Let me follow him right now. What Robbie Starbucks says is, it's time to expose Toyota. Toyota has been one of the most trusted brands in America, but they've gone totally woke. Here's some of what we found. Toyota sponsored a drag queen program at a summer camp for kids identifying as LGBTQ+. I almost forgot the plus, but that wasn't a good idea, Toyota. Told you guys, but this is the LGBTQ community that's asking for this and screwing themselves. So yes, Toyota did provide the knife, but the community requested the knife. Next one, Toyota opposes laws that ban sex changes for kids and funds groups who work to make changes legal for children, and they worked with the HRC to oppose these laws. Okay, well, I keep telling you, LGBT people, you want to go for the kids, this is what's going to happen. This is where people will draw a line. When it comes to the kids, people are putting up with all your bullshit for a long time, and then you guys reach the kids and didn't realize that that's where you were going to go a bridge too far. And I warned everybody. I've been warning everybody from the beginning, but nobody likes to listen to me. I'm a hater. I'm a self-hating gay over here living a good life while you guys are losing rights and sponsorship. But let's keep going. By the way, if anybody wants to sponsor my channel, I promise I'm not woke, clearly. Okay, so the next one. Toyota openly supports the Equality Act, which allows men into girls' bathrooms, sports, and locker rooms. Okay, Toyota, at a point you had to have said to yourself, we got to put the brakes on some of this. Like, I'm glad they called you out, because this all was just you up and the HRC requesting it. So the next one, Toyota funded the HRC's Time to Thrive Summit, where they worked with the largest teachers union to push gender ideology into elementary schools. How much worse can we get? Donated to the HRC, the Trevor Project, Dallas Resource Center, and Los Angeles LGBT Center, and the Workplace Equality Summit, all supporters of child transitions. The Trevor Project features chat rooms where adults have been caught talking to kids about kinks, how to transition, masturbation, and more. They also have a quick exit feature to wipe the browser and hide the website from parents. Okay, I know that feature to wipe the browser started off with the best intentions, because Trevor Project was created when we were in a different place and people really were getting kicked out of their houses. I'm not excusing anything, by the way. I'm just letting you guys know that probably did come from a very sincere place, or it was sold under a very sincere guise. Trevor Project is really to help prevent unaliving in young LGBT, and they're one of the ones I saw go from being like a legit trying to help people out, young people, kids out resource, to being one of these cogs in the machine. And I'll be honest, I do not support Trevor Project at this point on any level, and I don't think anybody should. I think every individual should pull their money from HRC, Trevor Project, GLAAD, anyone you're donating to, whether you're an individual or a corporation. I think you should pull your money from them, because all of them are doing things that are going to hurt us as LGBT. It's like they're trying to win battles to lose the war. And that's me being 100% honest about the way I feel about that. Do what you want. And with this going on in the chat rooms, there's adults mixing with kids and they're talking about the things they're talking about. Trevor Project should just be shut down altogether. Anyway, it goes on. Funded many all ages pride events, woke DEI trainings, LGBT Chamber of Commerce member, preferential treatment for diverse suppliers, hosted LGBTQ plus events at corporate, created custom cars with the trans flag. Well, that's just making money there. I mean, like, if they made money off of it, there's nothing wrong with it. If they did it as a donation, then that's something different. But if they made money off of it, whatever flag you want on this car, you pay the right price, you get your flag. I don't care what it is. Palestine, have at it. Pay me the money directly, I'll slap it on there. It's going to be crooked, though. I don't have an eye for symmetry. Anyway, ERG groups divided by race plus orientation. Okay, that doesn't make sense. A total commitment to DEI policies. Benign, but, well, benign as far as everything else they're accused of, but still stupid. 100 out of 100 CEI score from HRC for 16 straight years, which means that they pay for not only employee transitions, but for children of employees to transition in states where it's legal. To put it mildly, Toyota seems to have forgotten who their core customers are. They depend on American families and Japanese families to buy their cars. It's time to remind them who their customers are. I don't think the values of corporate reflect the values many Toyota and or Lexus owners have, with the exception of maybe Prius owners who probably like the woke stuff. Do Toyota and or Lexus owners want the money they spend with Toyota to be used later by corporate to push an ideology that's diametrically opposed to their own values? If you think Toyota values don't align with yours, and you're a customer or a potential customer who wants to speak out, their contact info is, and then it points down and it gives all their contact info. It gives the emails of all the main people. It gives the customer care number. And then he gives a disclaimer that seems to start off in a reasonable way. Let's read that. Our goal with reporting is never destruction. It's restoration of sanity. We do this by informing customers about the policies companies are adopting so they can make choices about what they're willing to support as a consumer. That's not cancel culture. It's capitalism. When we use our voices and wallets to vote our values, we can change the world and we can restore great companies to a culture of sanity, meritocracy, and political neutrality, or we can inspire competitors to step up to fight for our business. The customer is king, and most of us just want companies that we shop at to stop virtue signaling about divisive social, cultural, and political issues. Companies need to stop dividing us by injecting wokeness. If you agree, then share this video and tag other accounts so they share it too. And then he gives a video too. Okay, so the video got 5.1 million views. It got 7,400 bookmarks, and it got 57,000 likes, 2.3 thousand quotes, and 25,000 reposts. That's a lot, and I'm sure that's just the people that were willing to openly like it. So when you consider the impact that probably did had, Toyota, I'm sure, is trying to save face by being like, it was negligible, but they probably got hit. And this guy, I don't know him on any level. I did subscribe. I'm going to support him, I'm sure, in some way, but I'm sure he's social media savvy enough that he probably did it on TikTok, he probably did it on Instagram, he probably did it on Facebook, and Facebook is where you'll really get those people, because Facebook skews older, but it really does have that older audience that you want to appeal to if you want the anti-woke, if you want the common sense, and if you want the people that will really go out there and email and do all the stuff that they have to do. They're probably the most active in that way. So we go back to the article, and the article says, while Toyota and other companies seem to be caving to public pressure, employers across corporate America have quietly taken similar steps in recent years. Since the Supreme Court struck down affirmative action in 2023, conservative activists have set their sights on the workplace, bringing lawsuits over claims of reverse discrimination. As Fast Company has because this article is by Fast Company, by the way. As Fast Company has previously recorded, some companies had already started pulling back on their DEI commitments prior to 2023 in the aftermath of the affirmative action ruling. However, the growing fear of litigation has prompted many others to make more substantial changes to their DEI policies and alter recruitment programs that were intended to promote diversity. It's little surprise that in this climate, companies like Toyota are more vulnerable to campaigns to dismantle their DEI efforts. And there you have it, and there it is. And I don't blame anybody for being tired of this. People have been becoming more and more vocal about the fact that they are not fans of things like affirmative action. They are not fans of DEI. And I know some people try to attribute that to racism and homophobia, but I think that for a minute there, the pendulum just swung too far in the opposite direction, and it really did become unfair for straight white people. And not just straight white men, even though everybody tries to blame straight white men all the time and act like straight white men are the reason, or cishet white men. That's what they like to say, is cishet. For anybody that isn't familiar, cisgender, heterosexual white men is what they mean when they say cishet white men. The first time I saw that, it looked like cishet, and I was like, what's cishet? But yeah, cishet white men, and it'll have the little slash sometimes. But yeah, so even though people try to be like, this is just white men that can't stand, I personally think that at this point, if we can just get to a point where things are as much of a meritocracy as possible, that'll be what's ideal for everybody. And even though some people will still try to pull the racist and homophobic cards, and that will exist to a degree for the next generation or so, eventually that'll wash out, because really, even now, a lot of that is gone. And I'm not going to say it's completely gone, because I've dealt with some of that in my life. But at the same time, the older I get, the more I just begin to feel like, and I know this is going to sound insensitive, but we all just have to create the worlds that we want to live in. So if that means skipping on a job or leaving a job because you don't think they're treating you right, or you do feel like they're racist, or you do feel like they're homophobic, Charlemagne the God says a quote that I always think of in these kinds of situations, and I've had to do it myself in the comedy world. Go where you're celebrated, not tolerated. So if that means that you have to leave what seems like an opportunity or seems like a place to work because they're just tolerating you and not giving you the opportunities to get where you need to be, then just leave that and find something that is better for you, something that is meant for you, something that does welcome you with open arms and does offer you those opportunities. And I know some of that is easier said than done, but it's time to do it. That's what I'm going to say. And I know, like I said, some people are going to get mad at that. Anyway, let me know what you guys think down below in the comments. As always, this has been Ty Rivera, the absolute best LGBTQ comedian in the world.
They bought into his bullshit.